Join us for an enlightening experience where you will gain a deeper understanding of the purpose and essence of opening your eyes. This is your chance to enhance self-awareness and personal growth with a shift in perception that provides a fresh outlook on life. Embrace the journey from consciousness to superconsciousness by Barrett Kunyan.
We've got a beautiful soul storm back in our studio again. It's an honor to have you back, brother. A real privilege. And I just want
Thank
to
you.
take the opportunity, brother, to thank you so much for your wonderful books that you sent me. And I thoroughly enjoyed reading, and I'm using it as a reference guide as well. It's just so colorful. It's so colorful and so inviting. It's worded so beautifully, and it expresses itself really, really well. I've never seen anything like it, bro. It's so
Appreciate that. Thank you.
I really do appreciate that. So, brother, I thought this would be exciting, just to share a video, just to kickstart a beautiful dialogue with you, and it's called about Bioactivator Hamster Wheel. Um, let's just begin with that, and then I'll present some interesting questions to you in a few. Well, it's about a minute long or so. See you in a
Super.
second.
Bioactivator helps humanity investigate the purpose of our soul evolution by connecting to the biological computer, embracing organic Wi-Fi, which is cosmic energy. In helping humanity remove itself from the hamster wheel mentality, which is fear-based energy, through these fundamental questions. What, where, when, how, who, and why we and all life exist. If you struggle to answer these questions, then you are still on the hamster wheel. Bioactivator does not attempt to heal anybody, but creates harmony and neutrality at its core, with the purpose of do no harm, cause no loss, and do not impose upon the freedom of others, and to help simplify life through natural law.
Thank you for that. So,
Lovely.
amazing questions. Hey, brother, what, where, when, how, who, and why we and all life exist. I mean, do you want to attempt in your version to bring something forward reference to these vital questions?
Yeah, simple, easy answers, aren't they? Just a basic question, which way to the shop kind of question, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. That's fantastic. What, where, when, why, how? Basically, what is the purpose? Absolutely splendid. Whew. Okay, what is the purpose? Why are we here? So let's minimize it. Let's minimize it from the outside. Let's try this approach, because many approaches, when I say let's try an approach, I mean let's try to crack a little space so we can squeeze through the wall of cognitive dissonance. That wall that, without judgment, blocks people from accepting certain information that hasn't been fact checked. So we'll break through that. But the best way to do that, I think, is simplicity. And the best way to gain simplicity is minimalization. So, what I'm going to say now is my point of view. I'm going to speak clearly outside of all the boxes. You'll find most of the time I speak within the sphere of truth, but that's generally outside of the box. So let's deal with the first thing. And it sounds a bit strange when somebody says what, where, when, why, and as the question of life, and the answer becomes, let's start with NASA. And some would say, oh no, that's perfectly appropriate. They're the people who offer the answers to all of those, don't they? And sadly, that's where the fun stops, and we say, no, they don't. That's where they don't offer the answers, in fact, to anything whatsoever. And let's delve into NASA a little here, because we're stipulated we're outside of the box, therefore we can speak freely without being persecuted for it being a purposeful, scientific, fact-checked point of view. Let's just speak of it as an idea for now, but perhaps one hasn't heard of these ideas beforehand. So what I'm presenting to you is very simple, and it's not new, but it is the truth, and it's presented for a long period of time, and it's this. All NASA teaches you, by name and title of their own corporation, being NASA, the Hebraic Nasha, or directly NASA, whether you put the H in or not, meaning to deceive, means that the corporation is telling you we are going to deceive you, therefore all we tell you is a lie. Therefore, in simplistic terms, you could take everything you ever took from NASA and throw it out the window and start again. Now then, everything we ever learned from NASA happens to be starting from the largest, a universe, a galaxy becoming smaller, a solar system diminishing, and then we come into our solar system. That was solar systems in plural, our solar system particular, the Milky Way, full of these planets and such like. And then we come to our globe, Earth, and that information also taught through the schools throughout the realm, or the world actually, under different names and brands, and mainly the same symbol. That's how you know it's the same people. That information comes from NASA. All of that information, and only from NASA, to deceive. We are going to deceive you. So, those who believe in the universe, the galaxies, the solar systems, supernovas, and everything thrown into that, you can't be Christian. You can't follow the Bible at all, because the Bible tells you directly we live under a firmament and nobody knows what is above it, not NASA or anybody else. So you've either got to step into one side of the court or the other here. Now, if you're going to accept that there's a firmament, in other words, some sort of dome keeping an environment encapsulated, an atmosphere held in for a living system known as nature, that would make a lot of sense. And if you expanded that to an ice wall to hold in the waters, and a temperature control system, i.e. making the wall ice for the water stop there or controlled there, that's very obvious too. We do it in our refrigerator every day. It's called freezer. The freezer part is that, it's ice. And when you switch it off, it goes to water. We switch on, it goes to ice. It's really easy. On a bigger system, it can easily be controlled. It's just macro and micro. So these are not systems beyond our capability of understanding. They're very simple. What's not in our capability of understanding is anything beyond the firmament, because it doesn't even ring true, because we have no idea of what is beyond the firmament. And there is a firmament because there's an atmosphere. And there could not be an atmosphere without a firmament, a container, some sort of fishbowl effect to contain the atmosphere. So what's completely unsimplistic and difficult, and too difficult to comprehend, is NASA's version of universes, galaxies, solar systems, supernovas, and all sorts of lending itself, of course, to the chronic problem at the moment, alien life, meaning extraterrestrial, and all that type of invasion concepts and threat concepts and CERN and interdimensional, all to do with alien. The whole concept, the whole Pentagon, CIA, the whole thing is led. It's led to that by NASA. So it's a mass deception, and simply for complication. So let's take that out the picture just for this idea and explanation as it's out the box. And let's just cap the top of this realm with the firmament, as it is said in all the scriptures. And the scriptures are taken from all the texts, and the texts are ancient, and they're across the realm, not just one. There are plenty that say the same thing. So let's get to understand or understand what realm we're actually in. What is the first question? Are we living in? Well, we must understand, let's use that word, our container, to understand our limits or our non-limits. And our non-limits can't be falsified. So I understand this. I understand this is an extended answer, but let me go with this because the explanation is brilliant. So coming down to the firmament with the ice wall around and being contained within. I'll flash up a picture just so we have an understanding of what I'm referring to. Let me just find it. Here we go. So this is what I'm referring to for the viewer. This is and this is what I'm going to refer to all the time. So I'll put this down and continue. The picture I just showed you is a reference explained to you by every single culture, cult, and understanding and ancient civilization across the realm, bar the modern since 1950, whenever NASA to deceive. So you take it from there. So to answer the question, what we live in in a domed atmospheric environment called fauna and flora, which was created by, and here's where it's very important, by many beings that are the creators of the experiment known as heart, earth. If you just switch the letter of earth, the last letter, you'll get heart. So you take H from the end of the word earth and put it on the beginning, and it suddenly becomes heart. So earth is heart, heart is earth. This is the place. And when you go into nature, when you go into the deepest Amazon or any forest, never a real forest, not a fake forest like a pine forest. Those are fake forests. A real forest where you have all sorts of indigenous trees symbiotically coinciding. You can feel. When you're in nature, you can feel you're in nature. So you know what nature is. Now, that's the system, the matriarchal system, Mother Nature, a feminine divine system, a very Syrian influenced system, more like their baby, as it were, but watched and spoken about and by others, but it's their baby. And you ask, who the Syrians? And who are others if there's no aliens? Well, there's a very large difference between aliens coming from outer space that doesn't exist in the way you've been told by NASA, and aliens coming from outer space beyond the ice walls, which NASA doesn't want you to think of. Do not think horizontally out the box. Think vertically about the endless things occurring above, from God, heaven, universes, galaxies, solar systems, asteroids, planets. Oh, wow. We could be here all day describing what NASA has told us is above, but do not look beyond the ice walls. And they won't even speak of them as ice walls, they will speak of them as continents, like Arctic and Antarctic, North and South Pole, and a globe Earth, and all this absolute unprovable. It's laughable that they have fact check because their gimmicks are unprovable. What is provable is we live in a system domed by a firmament on a flat plane that is perfectly provable, and that system was completely covered by Mother Nature, meaning fauna and flora of a matriarchal system. And here's where everybody goes wrong. Well, some. Mother Nature was a matriarchal system that created fauna and flora as symbiotic creatures to breathe and co-create, cohabitate, and of course the creatures to co-create with each other through the insect system on the flora side, and simple asexual behavior on the fauna side. But here's the thing: Mother Nature never created predatorial behavior, carnivores. Mother Nature never created predators to attack other living herbivores and kill them. That's not Mother Nature. That's part of an invasion predatorial behavior. Genetic creators, without going deeply into it, who created predators, and they are predators and preying on us, and infiltrated these predators to prey on the other fauna of nature, to create fear, which is their food. That's why they prey on us. That's why we live in stress, called the work environment, cities, etc. Everything that causes stress, because that's fear. That's their medicine. That's what they're extracting from us. That's what they're extracting from the animals through infiltrating a predatorial system. Beyond that, the matriarchal system, and I'll go through this because it's really important. The matriarchal system, the Mother Nature, the feminine divine energy that used to flow in a counter-rotating field of light formation, counterclockwise rotations above the trees that carried the energy, of the realm. Those trees were severed, and now we have fields and borders and hedgerow, we call it, the great hedgerow. UK goes on about the hedgerow where all the nature lives in. It's laughable. It used to be a forest, a real forest, like Amazon. And you cut it down, or somebody, you meaning whoever's, those responsible, cut it down and made fields. Now, when they did that, it wasn't just for agriculture. It was also to disseminate Mother Nature so that the energy couldn't flow. It's exactly the same as you do with a river that flows. You redirect it for your own powers, or you dam it more so, and then flood people or charge them or do what you want. You control the waters. It's exactly the same. So the flow is being controlled by the flow of water is being controlled, the flow of energy is being controlled if you take away pods of pylons which control the energy. This energy running atop all the trees throughout the realm, throughout the world, the Mother Nature energy swirling on top, the mycelium layer swirling below, the water swirling and moving, all good energy, negative ions everywhere, slowly got severed away. All the waters got dammed, all the trees got cut away. And now we have pods of trees which can't communicate. And the network was broken. And along came these people during those times, before those fields appeared and those forests got taken down, and made beautiful, beautiful creations using knowledge of electromagnetism, levitation through magnetism called repulsion magnetism, and built these amazing circles of energy, meaning the energy was there, and they noted the energy and planted rocks called henges, circles, dolmens, etc., to mark that spot for us forever. And then along came a patriarchal society, an invasion. The moon got towed in, possibly 200,000 years ago. I have no idea of the times. They're really irrelevant. That's somebody else's idea. But the moon got towed in here, and it is written again through all the ancient texts. So somebody else's idea is all the ancient cultures and their texts written down from long, long time ago. And they all say the same thing. The moon got towed in here, affected the tides, and became HQ for the civilizer, those who are controlling, genetically controlling and creating civilizations over periods of time for their own use. And people go into the explanations of what about that. But for me, it's more important. That's kind of the economic side and the demineralizing and the dematerializing of the earth. But what's more important is the energy control, because that's the basis of everything. What they replaced that with, once they cut down all the trees and broke the matriarchal energy and invaded and dammed all the rivers, is they built cities, almost like concrete forests, like taking, excuse the word, but taking the piss out of Mother Nature, literally, making a mockery of Mother Nature. They've built cities, roads, rails, pylons. They've put up everything that they can, all in concrete and artificially. So the main thing that they put up there occultically, and the part that I'm really sort of trying to get across here, is that the matriarchal system of trees and the energy flow and water and its flow and the mycelium layer, then the natural flow of energy, literally via nature, via the wires and cables of nature, roots and etc., branches, was disseminated, artificialized, copied, cloned into a falsified, non-emotional, dead, but copied system called a city, made out of concrete, with tall buildings like trees, with currents and cables, all run and charged for, kind of mocking the roots and branches of nature, and the paths of nature would then become roads. So it's just a real basic mockery or artificial insemination of nature by the invaders into their dead world. And slowly but surely they wiped out nature and filled it with their dead world. And at the moment, Barrett, we sit in a very, very, very low vibrational place. The picture from the Matrix, when Neo takes the red pill and sees the real world for the first time, comes into mind. The dead world. It's very, very dead when you see it. It used to be the Amazon people. It used to be the Amazon everywhere. We were the tribes. We were free. We lived happily every day. We, as Amazonian people, still do every day live tribal lives happily with our families, in community, successfully amongst the trees of nature, like it used to be. But, and excuse me, us idiots, we fell for it. We fell for the scam, the plan, the scam. We fell for it, the agenda. And we live it every day. And it's called civilization. We fell for the invaders coming down here and creating us by simply genetically modifying the race before, and we won't go into that, but the beings before into us, so that we would do what they programmed us to do genetically, which is what we're doing until now, where many of us are breaking those codes and breaking those genes and breaking out of that box and literally becoming our spheres of light, our orbs, and moving back into a matriarchal understanding, planting millions and billions of trees, looking at the obelisks, these phallic penis, erect penis like false concrete or stone, usually granite pillars, which purposely got put in on all nodal points of the grid so that they could mimic and take over that beautiful energy flow above the trees that I was talking about, the matriarchal energy flow of the mid system. There's different energy flows in the nature system, but the one is above the trees, super important, was eliminated and is now. And the main reason is that it flows counterclockwise. It flows in a female formation. Now has been replaced by these direct obelisks, these male phallic symbols that capture the energy on the pinnacle and send it to the next obelisk on the next nodal point. And they've created a straight lined grid of civilization. So in archaeology, civilization is recognized within nature when an archaeologist finds a straight line, which usually forms in steps. Then they recognize that this is artificially built. So in geometry, we have straight lines and angles as male geometry, and curves and spheres or circles as female geometry. So in nature, you never see a straight line or angle. Just as I said, archaeologists recognize unnatural or artificial monuments, creations by straight lines and angles, and recognize nature by curvaceous, non-straight lined, angled structures. When you look to the city, all you see is straight lines and angles, streets, blocks, every cube. In fact, and coming to the finish of this explanation, when you look into the cities, all you see is cubes. Every house, every building, every apartment, every hotel, they're all cubes. Every room of every hotel, everything is cubes, straight lined and angled. So you know civilization is not nature. In fact, it's the opposite. In fact, it's at war with. In fact, civilization is invading nature. And it's there that we have a serious issue, because we are nature as humans, and we've sold out to civilization. We've been bought out. We've been hypnotized out. We've been tricked and scammed out. It's not our fault, but it is our responsibility to wake up and not to be tricked any further. I'm sure everybody's been scammed once at least in their life, sadly, and sorry for that. It's a terrible experience, but you know exactly how it goes. You get scammed. It's great. I'm going to do this. Oh, damn. All those feelings. I want to do this. I want to do that. I'm angry. I'm sad. I'm frustrated. It's not fair. And then you muddle through it and you lose money and you crawl back, and it takes some years and you come out the other side. That's exactly what's happening to humanity right now on a consciousness scale. We've been scammed badly. We are fauna, natural beings. We're supposed to be experienced each day in a balanced, beautiful way, foraging with our family, doing our part, living communally, enjoying. Nothing else. Anything else is a bonus. It's up to you. Your whole purpose is just to vibrate joy as a guardian within nature. That's it. There is no concept of work or you have to or you must, or your real base duty is vibrating joy. Therefore, the very obvious invasive tactic on such a worker, employee, consciousness of employees is to slowly hypnotize and trick them into something else, deceive them by offer. By offer, the devil offers by deception, deceive them. Just give them something, an offer they can't refuse, and then win them over, and then give them more and more and more and more, and slowly delete what was behind them so that if they ever turn back to check if they went wrong, it's gone. Too late. What nature? What trees? What are you talking about? You're crazy. There are never trees. No, you were dreaming. And it will become a dream if we behave like this. It may. We don't want it to. So this is the invasion, what we call the Martian invasion, where they towed the moon in here, manipulated the genes of the prior race, and here we are, manipulated to heck and gone, can't remember who the hell we are, what we are, why we're here, where we came from, and what's going on. So we think we're living on a globe. NASA's telling us the truth. We must work 9 to 5, otherwise we're worthless and not playing our part in society. Meanwhile, society is an invasive, dominant force that you want to have no part of and step right out of and go back to nature because it's part of a civilization, which is the invasive force, the anti-nature. And you, by every known thing to you, are fauna, which is nature. So humans are in a real cognitive dissonance way beyond what we learned in 2020, 2019 when this genocide began. Humans are so cognitively dissonant. That wall is so big that they don't want to even remember that they are natural beings and return to the forest. It scares them. But that's their natural environment. It's like taking a gorilla, a beautiful big silverback, and putting him in New York. Oh yeah, they did that. I think that was called Godzilla or some King Kong or something it was. So the idea is exactly that. But let's just be realistic and put a normal gorilla in a city. They're going to go ballistic and then they're going to die. Well, we've adapted through manipulation. We've been manipulated. But humans should really pause at this period, this aeon in life, and stop right here and go, we've been scammed. I don't like it. It doesn't feel good. I feel a fool. I've done this, I've done that. It's caused this, it's caused that. How can I? Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Am I going to just go on like it never happened? Or am I just going to cut my losses, stop and know what happened, take it on the chin, take responsibility and remake myself? That's where humanity's at. Humanity needs to decide that right there. Are you going to go on with a scam right into technology now? We've already been scammed through the industrial age, making all the machines to make the computers. Now we're getting scammed into a whole technological age full of scams. Are we going to go on is the question. Or are we going to stop and say, hang on? We haven't been part of nature for a long, long time. And that road there is a silicone road, and it's a slippery silicone road. This road here is a carbon road, and it's where we came from. So perhaps we should take the carbon road from where we came instead of the slippery silicone road of anti-nature from something we know nothing about and is not of us. It's just not us. And that there is what NASA does not want you to contemplate while they're feeding you the nonsense about contemplation of all of what they feed you from above.
Thank you, brother. That was awesome.
That
Awesome.
was the short version.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's juicy information there. If I may, reference to in the invasion, in your understanding, who created this so-called invasion?
Yes, excellent. I believe, to be absolutely open, and because I'm speaking outside of the box, I don't have to factualize or fact check this. I'm going to, and I don't think anybody can, because this information is lost, I think, or somewhat in the Sumerian texts, perhaps, but I'll be accurate with it for myself. What I understand completely, like many folk are showing, is that this realm that we live in also expands outwardly, like this picture that some folks have seen around. Just for those who don't know, and this is just part of it, this would be yourself and your earth with your ice ring around you. This is of what I'm going to speak now. These lands you see here. I may speak of lands that are here, and then there are other pods like this, here, 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 and we can go on. But for simplicity's sake, understand that what you are looking at this ring here, for instance, for example only, you are looking at the equivalent of this. So this dome is covering and touching the outer ring of this dome, is touching down on the outer ring of this ice wall. Now, in the bigger version, the expanded version, there's a third wall here with other spaces, but whether there's one wall, two walls, three walls, 15 walls, and understand that a dome needs to cover and finish like a fishbowl onto the wall. That's basically the top of a wall, and you would have a conservatory roof on the top of that. For those who think of building, you would have a wall, then you would have a glass roof. Maybe some people would have a round glass roof called a conservatory where you catch the sun. Well, that's what we got, an ice wall with a glass roof. So looking like that, just so you got it in your mind. So when you ask, where did they come from? These particular beings that towed the moon into Earth atmosphere and began controlling the genetics of the race that was here, thus creating humans. Those beings are draconians, reptilians, vril, who Chitahuri, known by all such names and many more, Nagas, who left Mars. Not the Mars you've been told by NASA, this round planet, blah, blah, in the space, blah, blah, beyond the firmament, blah, blah. No. Mars looks like this. They all look like this. Every civilized, no, every habitated area must be domed. There's a reason. I'll give it to you as we're outside of the box, and it's written. So none of this is not written in all the ancient texts. So you can go and see it there. Probably not on Facebook though, which is why I say not fact checked. is that above all the firmaments are water. So exactly like a upside down fishbowl underwater on the bottom of, let's say, an ocean, a surface, are these. Exactly like, if you know what bell diving is, a bell diver simply takes a bell, a plastic dome with air in it floating on top of the water, weights, it's got weights on, and he goes down with it. And as he goes down, the air in the bell disallows water to enter the bell, and he goes down, 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 and puts it on the bottom, the weights on the bottom of the ocean, so that the bell is floating 1 or 2 meters above wherever he wishes. And then he can go inside it and breathe because there's air in there. He can take a breath, he can take his composure, then he can swim around, do his diving. And once the carbon dioxide is built up in the bell, he knows how long that takes and can start to feel from the air. Takes his last breath, pulls the floats, and the bell floats up. And that's it. He leaves it floating up there. When he comes again, he deflates it. It goes down. It's up and down. It's called bell diving, usually to collect oysters or mussels or things. You got longer time underwater. You're looking at a bell. In this realm, the thing that keeps the frequencies is bells. Until the Nazis took the bells away. That was part of the whole Nazi regime, was to take down all the high frequency creating machines, bells, and the Vril, the Dracos, the Chitauri, the reptilians assisted them with this. They were in cahoots with Hitler completely and utterly, which is why, well, I'm not going to say nearly, he had and gained world domination under different names. They say that the Nazis were defeated at Normandy or in the Channel Islands in Jersey, from where I'm speaking to you from. Yet we have in the UK, the family, the Windsors, the original name was the Gothenburgs, which was German, Nazi particularly. So, they didn't stop anywhere. They took over, and you see them everywhere right now under different name. So that's the idea of the Nazis coming in, and the Nazi connection with the Vril and the what we'll call the reptiles, because people generally call them that, and how the reptiles are in the governments across the world. And that's why you have what's called a draconian government, because the reptiles' other name is Dracos, from the Alpha Draconis. That's why people are referring to it as a draconian government, because it's directly draconian right now. But we need to cut this all, you see. And the only way you can cut it all is by recognizing what happened a long time ago. And what happened is this, back to your question of Mars. Mars, being another one of these, was destroyed. It was destroyed by nuclear war, by the Vril, because they got to a point on the descension ladder called Kali Yuga by the Indians, of the darkest place that this kind of experiment or darkest dimension we can be in, and then life ceases to exist completely. It's the darkest dimension life can exist in, and the darkest aeon and the darkest time. But it's always darkest before the dawn. So the light is coming, and it'll be bright and be beautiful. But we need to know where we are. We need to know when to sleep and when to act. Can't act at the night and sleep in the day. It's not going to work that way. We're circadian. We need to stay in the rhythm. That's why if we start to get ready for an Aquarian golden age that is not here, that would be a shock when we went to war instead of suddenly had a beautiful peace, which is why that agenda is in place. We are nowhere near a golden age, and that must be obvious to everybody. If a golden age looks like this, I don't want to be here. I don't want a golden age. Give me a rusty old iron age. This is not a golden age, people. The golden age does not look like this. This is the darkest of dark. And we need to be very aware, very conscious, and it's very obvious. You can see it through the celebrities, that whole Hollywood realm. You can see it through your food, water, real estate, economics, everything. The whole thing is crunching in right now into the darkest it could be, the darkest hour before the dawn. And those that are awake need to be and need to know where we're at and not be deceived that we are in some golden age and it's all okay and you can relax. Do not relax. You are warrior monks and you know who I'm talking to. You will know if I'm talking to you, and the rest of you just chill out. Warrior monks, it's now time to be your warrior self, not your monk self. Do not be deceived. Do not lay down your weapons. Be prepared. Over to you, Barrett.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for that as well. Reference to Mars, for example, was it completely destroyed? I mean, the atmosphere and stuff like that was, and is there any form of life left on Mars as such?
I'm going to speak intuitively, totally intuitively, and out the box. And I must state that, otherwise, hundreds of thousands of people will be jumping on. Mars was completely destroyed, but the firmament cannot be destroyed.
Right.
But the atmosphere can be, and the ground, the earth, the whole place is unlivable. Hence, the reason why Mars was escaped from,
Yeah.
and the moon was towed in here. That's exactly what occurred. The moon was towed in here. Whatever was salvaged from Mars came in here to what we call Earth. However long you want to put on that, people put a time on that 200,000 years ago or so, but it got towed in here and came in here. And since then, and this is also spoken about in the Cabal, in the original Cabal of the 13, let's say, lineages, and they're what you would call interdimensional, outside, not extraterrestrial, outside of here, outside of Terra, of Earth. They decided on what happens here in this realm, 13 of them, and that was called the original Kabbalah. One of those places was taken up by the Martian people, and they wanted to recreate weaponry, military, back to nuclear weapons. And the other 12 said, well, hey, man, have you not learned? Don't you think that was bad enough? Don't you think we should just not create those weapons, that whole military, naval, air force, nuclear idea? And there was a discussion ongoing about this. And so-called incoming was then a threat, so-called, I say, a comet, but there was a threat. And there was a decision to be made. Mars started advertising and marketing weaponry to take care of the threat. Seemingly the idea that the elites follow today, weaponry to take care of any threat. And the others then asked for peace and sided towards peace and said the kind of Muslim idea of what will be will be. We do not interfere, we accept. I think that's correct to say that's kind of that side of the world idea. Whereas the Westerners just want to intervene and shoot everything out the sky and are afraid and want to take care of it. And they lost, the Martians, they lost out on that discussion, and peace reigned. And what is written in the ancient texts occurred is that whatever that was incoming or created, you see, the Martians got hit by it, which makes me question whether it was a comet or an attack from somebody else on the Martians directly, as in behave. But the Martians were blitzed, and they became a really weak race, and they got very upset about that. And they were dominated in this realm for a long time by the matriarchs, the mothers, the mother figure, and the feminine divine, and this whole priestess, and the whole thing went on and on and on. But slowly behind the scenes, as it happens, always mustered the Martians. And they mustered, I tell you, they went deep into occultism, magic, manifestation of beings, 72 of them particularly, and wrote a book on how to do this, to manifest 72 different demonic beings, to access their powers and utilize them here. You don't need CERN for that. There's books written on how to do this. And they did it. And slowly but surely, through handing over their power, selling their soul for no price whatsoever, just for power. In other words, following the easy route, the evil route, the gain route, the domination route, the control route, through physical, mental, emotional, physical spiritual domination. They slowly gain control over the world. And you see the pinnacle of that today. You're seeing that right now. We are at the apex of that story, and in the darkest hours, because if they succeed, then it's obvious. If they only have 500,000, 500,000 people, 500,000, I think it is, to control, and they obliterate everybody else in some sort of cataclysmic carnage behavior, that's not what we want to see, and not what we want to fall for, and not what we want to be scammed into. So the Martians have come from a totally decapitated existence by themselves, and brought that same energy and refused to change, and are trying to do it again. And we're not having it. We're not standing for it. We're not taking it. And that's what you're seeing in the realm right now.
Thank you, brother. Reference to the population of the world. What figures would you want to estimate in terms of the population? Because a figure has been thrown out there. I mean, I personally couldn't do a head count, but I mean,
Yeah,
it's
no, I
like,
have no idea. I can't estimate at all. I have no idea.
is it like in billions, millions, thousands? Who knows?
Yeah, that's it. We can't. They just say what they want.
Okay. Reference to the moon, brother. I mean, David Icke spoke about how Saturn was empowering the moon, and it had control over us. Do you still feel that the moon is completely in charge of planet Earth still today?
Quite. Yeah, I
Right.
do. Totally. Because we see that very simply in the tides. So the biggest area of our realm is the water, particularly the mineral water, the ocean. That's quite obvious. You can see that out there. And the moon's pulse, magnetic pulse, pulses at 6666666. So that controls the realm. That's the mark of the beast idea through the Bible. That's what www dot means on the World Wide Web. It means 666. It's equal to that in the Hebraic alphabet. So you've got this pulse of 66666 setting the tone for materialism. 666 is the materialist tone. It's the vibration of materialism. So you're setting the materialism zone and tone. And the waters move, the tides move by 6 hours, 6 hours in, 6 hours out. So the moon is affecting the tides directly. Therefore, it's affecting the waters in the body and the waters throughout the realm. The waters under the ground, the water in the atmosphere, the water in the clouds, the water that's involved with the firmament idea, the top of the firmament, which it needs to be explained in connection with NASA and Elon Musk and the change of the design of rockets and what they're doing there. Fundamentally important. But the moon is controlling the realm via this frequency of 66666 and controlling our own waters and keeping us in this corporate materialist kind of realm instead of allowing us to ascend to 789 and move up into the higher frequencies and get out of this materialistic density. We've just been held in a density. When you put magnetism to liquid and you increase the magnetism, when you put a high magnetism, intense magnetism to liquid, you get density. You get liquid density, meaning gelling. So it's quite interesting to look at the fact look at our ethereal spiritual self under magnetic influence, gelling, becoming like jelly. And that's pretty much what I feel mostly when I touch myself. There's a bit of harder stuff called bone, but it's very jelly. And maybe if you decrease the electromagnetic effect on the human, they would etherealize very easily. So it may just be a frequency like 666 from the moon holding us in this material form and in this constant cognitive dissonant hypnosis, this propaganda that we believe what we believe, this program literally that we
Yeah,
believe what we believe and don't try to exist outside of the box literally
absolutely. Absolutely.
because of that frequency that's holding us there. And if we can get
Yeah.
out of that frequency, break it and move into our own frequency
Ah,
through meditation or through usage of
right.
music or healing or sound, we can yeah, we can become more ethereal, more spiritual, ascend.
Brother, what is your role in this? What's your purpose in your presence? What is the presence of who you are? Uh, your contribution in terms of
Quite. So each day, every day is the same for me. I need to take the first little bit of the day to harmonize my vibration.
right.
That's all of our duties. First thing in the day, it's obvious at night and it's not your fault. You need to sleep. You're circadian, meaning you're a light dark system, right? You're a light dark system. You're controlled by serotonin and melatonin. In the daytime, when the sun so-called rises, more like raises up in its spiral frequency, but yeah, we call it rises for now. It brings light. So when the sun brings you light, you begin to create serotonin and cease to create melatonin within the pineal gland. That serotonin wakes you up, makes you feel happy and look forward to the day, and you go about it supposedly in community, family, foraging, and creative manners. Nowadays, it's called work, 9 to 5, 24/7 if you don't be careful. Um, so, just lost the trend there. Where were we at?
Yeah, no, we basically saying, your role, and you were talking about how to harmonize
Thank you very
yourself.
much. I'm back on it. So just to say, so each day is for, thank you, Barrett, for myself and everybody else equally, is to balance the frequency, not to do the 24/7, 9 to 5 immediately. I know we have to. I know we have to. But to give yourself that time before to balance your frequency. And as I was saying, because we're circadian beings, that's what I was saying. We sleep and awake. So in the waking hours, we've got serotonin keeping us awake. As soon as it gets dark, we create melatonin, and that slowly but surely puts us to sleep. And that's the serotonin, melatonin, circadian rhythm we live on, the light and dark rhythm. So if we if we wake up in the morning, first thing, and we balance our vibration, we wake up from that sleep, which, as I was saying, is absolutely necessary. You can't be without it, otherwise you literally go crazy. You have to have that sleep. So when you wake up from that sleep, you don't know what's been occurring. Your dream time, we'll leave that out, could have been anything. And we say it's a dream time, yet the original people from the original, not Aboriginal, original people from Australia teach that your waking time is actually your dreaming time. And your dreaming time in your sleep is actually when your soul is awake. So they see it in reverse. So that's very important. And what I'm saying is that when you wake up from that sleeping time, whichever way you see it, you don't know what happened. And you may not feel very good for whatever reasons. So the first and foremost process of a self manifesting of their own reality creating creature is to balance their vibrations so they can create a harmonic reality. Otherwise, we're jumping out of bed, the alarm, the shower, too late, blah, 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 and we're rushing off to work in a disharmonic vibration, creating a disharmonic reality, day, experiences, deals. And that's why we have a horribly disharmonic life full of drama and such like. So, my role each day for consciousness and personally is to balance my vibration, whether it takes me a breath and a thought if I'm that advanced, or whether it takes me a 5 minute, 10 minute, 20-minute meditation, or whether it takes me a walk on the beach, in a meditative form, conscious. For me, it takes approximately an hour every day, ritualistically doing the exact same movements which are in my book, known as energy transformation, or known by the Shaolin monks as body activation, moving the 13 articulation points, the 13 joints of the body to discharge the negative energy or stuck energy, if you want to call it that, and recharge with loose or alive energy going into the day, balanced and harmonic. That should be the duty of every soul every day personally, so they feel the best and going to the day in the best way, living their best life, as it were. And it should be the duty of every soul because they're part of consciousness to keep consciousness balanced and harmonic. So it's a macro and a micro decision on that level. On the macro level of what I'm here to do, finally I know, and I found out by seeking and asking the questions, is I've come here to deliver a set of information through books and talks that will expose what I call System 12, which is the Martian invasion that we were talking about before, and show the ways which this is manipulating and hypnotizing and causing cognitive dissonance in many of the consciousness, in many of the beings of consciousness, and hence getting them to continue running around in the hamster wheel of society and civilization in this 9 to 5, 24/7 work mode, keeping the dominant hand of the masters from the moon and their agenda wheel turning. And the more souls we can wake up that are running on this hamster wheel and pull off, the less this hamster wheel is going to turn. And slowly, one day, it's going to stop turning. And all the souls are going to be saved and woken up off of that hamster wheel. And the controllers will have no more control because we are their fuel. We literally fuel their reality, not just physically running around working, running their system for them, civilization system 12, but we have imagination, intuition, and psychic ability, which they forfeited. They don't have that, but they parasitically hitchhike on our backs and utilize our consciousness to manifest realities through deceiving us. So, by us thinking it's our own choice of manifestation. This is what I want to do. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm doing. Oh, I've done it. But it may not have been your choice. You may have been manipulated to do that. You may have been neuro-linguistically programmed to do that. If you think that's not possible, then just go and watch any hypnotist practice group hypnotism on a stage, and you will see that people turn to funky chickens and onions very quickly, and it's very difficult to convince them they're not. So hypnotism and neurolinguistic programming through propaganda is a very real effect, and can take whole races and whole consciousnesses in directions that's not of their own liking or even will, and unwillingly and unknowingly they can simply go along and follow these trends, behaviors, pictures, ideas, thoughts, offers, corporate offers, which is where we're at these days. Most things are corporate offers that people are following and getting deceived by. So yeah, my part in this world now and forevermore is to expose the deception of what we call the Martian, the Vril, the Chituhuri, the Masters. Uh, just expose the deception which is on the people, which is over the people. Show the people how they are being overstood by these masters, and who these masters are, and what their tactics are to manipulate the people, what these strings of control are, these octopus tentacles. Name them and detach them and sever them, so that they don't control the people anymore. So the people are free to control themselves, have their own minds, have their own choices. So that's what
And
my journey is to do. And as I said, doing it through books and talks and interviews
absolutely.
with you. Thank you very much.
I appreciate you very much. Do you feel it can be achieved more on an energetic level rather than a physical level? Because reference to like people sort of, marching and, protesting and things like that. Do you think that helps
I
in
think
any
it
shape?
gives them ammunition to practice their techniques, and it gives them opportunity, sorry, to practice their techniques and utilize their ammunition and machinery.
Yeah,
It then gives them excuse
yeah,
to call for more money, for more machinery and more tactics and more
right,
blah, 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 blah. So really, it's another hamster wheel.
right. Yes,
But having said that, I'm a protester, have protested, been part of protests, and stick by human rights protesters all the way. Everything you do, righteously, sensibly, logically, not ridiculously, people, there's a level, is honorable and respectful, but possibly sometimes not the most sensible way. There are way better ways if you would just be wiser, conglomerate, have strategy, have a sensible, intellectual, courageous leaders, and start to make a network of everybody. Leaders meaning those who begin the idea going, which infiltrates into everybody's a leader. We're not looking at a hierarchy, but we want, when I say leaders, everybody needs to be of leader mindship, a whole network. We're talking about all the people, whatever number that is.
yeah. But
That way,
I
that
don't
way,
want,
those people making choices that
yeah,
are of a higher vibration will lead
right.
to the change.
I don't want to throw a spanner in this, but just a devil's advocate, just to see it from a perspective of, that, because there's been a lot of manipulation, and the technologies that the powers that were have or had, past tense. Um, I mean, it's very advanced technologies we're dealing with. How can we combat that? Because is it a level of AI technology, and how can we sort of combat in the most powerful way? How can we be in our power
Excellent.
without?
Yeah. The simplest way, and you know what? It's so simple for people to empower. All they have to do is act together, not
Mm,
singularly. Otherwise, you singled out.
right.
And the other thing is a very simple thing people need to realize the whole realm, what you call the corporation run by BlackRock, Vanguard, basically BlackRock, the whole realm that runs within the monetary system is corporate. Therefore, everything within the realm of corporate is an offer, and it's only binding by contract. If you don't sign, you don't bind. If you didn't sign, you didn't bind. So that's something people absolutely don't understand or understand or overstand, whichever standing they want. And that's that it's an offer. When you send any letter from the little notice on your car when you so-called do a overtime stay or whatever, to the big red letters from the court, the so-called fraudulent court, they're all offers. They're offers for you to contract with them. And if you just reject the offer, you you're not saying no to anything but an offer, and you have no contractual necessity to accept an offer. You have the right to reject all offers. So that's your lawful standing under common law. Do no harm, injury, or loss. Your lawful standing is you have the inalienable right, not inalienable, inalienable right to refuse and reject an offer. It's only when you have contracted by signature that you have bound yourself in, and then that will be another process to unbound yourself. So, yeah, I don't know if that.
That makes a lot of sense. But what about coin to Caesar? Because now paying people paying their taxes is like saying, yeah, what's the word? You're
Consent,
empowering. Yeah, you're empowering them and you're complying. So
comply.
so not for you not to comply, it's like saying, well, we are causing loss and we are causing major harm. I mean, it's so blatantly obvious to some. Um, myself, I have this beautiful stance because you use fantastic words like harmonize, neutralize. You can neutralize things by being present and you understand the opposition and how it's played. Um, and to be the change you want to see. So you need to visualize, right? It's very, very important to see a paradigm in your mind, and then you sort of project it. And I do see one, and I see one very different to the one we have here. But the $1 million question is how quickly this will happen, because within our beautiful spiritual community at large, I mean, people feel that I've got a really close brother friend. He's based in Newcastle, and his name is Rob Shenante, and I'd love to bring him into our conversation one day. Now he's a very smart, very he's done a lot of research, and through his intuition, he feels that something extraordinary is going to happen run up to Halloween. But he feels that people who are conscious aware before such an event, because he feels that reference to weather manipulation, because the powers that were, they've got amazing technologies that they could, well, they've been interfering with nature and what have you. So he feels that there's going to be a massive earth change, and he feels that that there's a storm which is ridiculous. It's brewing big time, and he feels that humanity has. I mean, the clock is ticking without alarming people too much, but we can neutralize this. We can harmonize it. But the people of the planet, like you said, we need to come together,
Yes.
because if we don't, and we keep ourselves separated, then it's going to be quite catastrophic in a sense, right? Where does the word, I mean, I'm tempted to, because I know a bit about you as well, reference to a death experience, because what brother Rob is talking about is an end date. He feels that something is going to end on this day. My take is, without getting too paranoid, I feel it's the end of bullshit myself.
Yeah, sounds great.
Yeah, but I mean, do people need to panic? If there is an event? I'm not seeing it as a negative. I mean, I'm seeing, for me, it's an exciting time. It's hard not to get excited when you're in the company of such wonderful people like yourself. I mean, you're an amazing guy, brother. I mean, I came across you through Missing Links from Jesse Howe, and you had an amazing conversation with him. I mean, I think it lasted like 4 hours long, and I must admit, it was a bit of a marathon, but your energy, I mean, it's really very powerful, and that's why I honor and respect your presence, and want to do a lot more with you as well. Is there something we can work on? And can we invite more and more people to the table? I mean, can
Yeah,
we work on?
we're all gonna
Yeah.
have to, because
Okay.
that's the answer, like you just said. Standing alone, divided we fall. Barrett,
United.
we need to combine. We need to network. We need to come into community. Divided we fall.
Yeah.
Together we
Yeah.
stand. If we don't come together, it's game over. That's the whole idea, to isolate us. That's the whole idea of the lockdown concept, the separation, the 6 meters or 6 foot apart. That's the whole idea of these screens and not coming together, sitting in groups like we used to, or in council, or used to be in powwow a long time ago, or in conference, you know. So the idea is to separate us, to keep us disconnected, because the same as those trees I was talking about earlier, that all run the energy above them because they're all connected. The same
They're like
idea.
they're
We
like
run
and
energy.
yeah. It's we can it's a connection. So in not so many words, how important is it to connect with nature? Although it has been uprooted quite a bit. I mean, I'm based in Bulgaria at the moment, and I've been here for over 10 years, and I can see the mass destruction of how EU has come into the foreplay, and how it's uprooted.
Word.
They go about doing agriculture, and the amount of toxins they're putting into the soil. It disturbs me. It disturbs me because I love Mother Earth. I honor her and I respect her. But how can one person make a difference? I mean, it's like we can have this incredible coming together, and really, like, reference to coin to Caesar as well. If we don't feel that the taxes are going to the right places, I mean, what's stopping people saying, look, I don't want to pay my taxes anymore
Simple.
because
That's
it's
it.
causing harm?
That's
I mean,
it.
come on, people. I mean,
Correct.
is it as simple as that, to start off with something? I mean, it's relatively major because people are worried that they will be prosecuted.
That's it.
if they don't pay. But people are being prosecuted in so many other ways, and
Sure.
the injuries are untold. I mean, it's incredible. It's
So what I would say there is educate yourself on your law status, which means learn about common law, law of the land, and admiralty law, law of the sea. Sounds very complicated, but it's not. It's very easy. As the video showed, Barrett's video a little while ago, the whole law of the land, called common law, has 3 states, and you can learn them right now in 3 seconds. Do no harm, cause no injury, cause no loss. That's it. You just learnt the whole of common law under the Magna Carta 1215 against King John by 24 nobles, 2 of them being my great, 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 great grandparents. Those were written by those 24 nobles for the peasants against the clergy, which were persecuting the peasants monetarily, economically, and every other way. That's common law. That's real law. That's human law. That's behavior law. That's society law. That's law of a community, law of a family. The other law is called admiralty law, as in admiral, he who rules over a ship, the commander of the ship, the admiral. Admiralty law, law of the sea. Law of the sea is mostly called legality, legal, and has a specific language known as legalese, which is what the police and the government and the courts speak to you once you become a criminal under their legal admiral law of the sea. The other 2 areas of legality or admiralty law are statutes and acts, areas of legally binding jargon, but do not fall into common law, only fall under law of the sea. Very basically, the law of the sea is the law that you're birthed like a boat in a harbor, birthed into. You're birthed into admiralty law, the law of the sea, as a minor merchant trader. That when you are 18, you will be released from the harbor, unberthed, unshackled, and released out onto the ocean as a merchant trader to then trade legally under admiralty law, paying taxes for the rest of your working life to pay back what the government paid for you from year birth, since you were birthed, to since you till you are 18 and released out to sea to begin trading. So those are the 2 laws, and you're always charged under admiralty law or the law of the sea, because that's what the police and the courts work under, because that all the wording in the courts is wording that's involved with the sea and shipping, etc., etc., being a merchant trader, a vessel of the ocean. And there's of course further implications to that. As you are a vessel of the ocean, there's 2 states in a vessel: the captain, the controller of the vessel, and the vessel itself. So in this arena, you being the controller, the captain of the vessel, is your soul and yourself. But the vessel is by birth, is the um, is under the ownership of the state that you're birthed into. And only because, sadly and unbeknown to them, your parents at birth sign your birth certificate, which has at the bottom a number on it, a barcode number, a stock number. So when you are born, your boat, your vessel, when you're birthed, not born, when you're birthed under Admiralty law, your boat has a number. That number goes on the stock exchange and you become stock, which is traded on for the rest of your life. That amount of money that is generated from trading on your stock number, your birth number at the bottom of your birth certificate, is your trust. That is your personal CTK or CTAC trust. And usually, by the age of 18 or more, once you set out to sea, holds enough money both to pay back the government and to have you live the rest of your life happily. But they don't tell you that. The biggest secret, the greatest occultic secret in this civilization, society, the Martian order, not nature, or the anti-nature side, is that you're a stock number being traded on by those who live and exist in the outer space, in outer space, remembering that this is your world. Everything that you thought was your globe is here inside this. And in outer space, these people are trading on you in this game here while they are outside of it. Now, if you know that, you can utilize that information very, very well in your favor in this reality. For instance, for example, when you receive any sort of notice from any corporation, for instance, the authorities, generally a court, of some sort of order, for instance, to pay a fine or a Ulysses fine or something that you don't accept as relative or decent or correct, what you're receiving is an offer, nothing more. They are offering you to pay them the amount they offer, and you can refuse. And then they will re-offer, and you can refuse, and then they will give you a red letter, which is the final offer. Then they will ask you to attend personally, because we've had enough talking to each other on letters. And they will begin with a language called legalese in court, an attempt through deception to have you persecute yourself, hang yourself, because you don't know what you're talking about. Whereas if you do know what language they're using, for example, again, the judge will begin to do something like ask you your name. If you say, admit that's your name, my name is John Smith, the game's up. You've admitted you're John Smith. You've admitted that you are the vessel, not the captain. It's called your straw man or your legal fiction under Admiralty law, law of the sea, legalese, legal acts and statutes. Your legal fiction, not non-fiction. Fiction, because it's false, it's a scarecrow, it's a straw man, it's a shadow, doesn't exist. It's a stock market number that you traded on. If you know that, when you receive an offer like come to court or pay this, all you have to do, and let me quote and unquote, this is not lawful information and this is not factual that this will work. I've been overridden before unlawfully, although I was correct. But what are you supposed to do? So I don't say it will work, but this is the way. when you go to, you don't go to court. You simply write on any offer that comes, any notice, any court offer, any summons, simply give them permission to extract the funds from your trust. So when they ask you, you have to pay this fine, blah, 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 just say, permission granted. And you send the letter back. And when they ask you what permission is granted, you say permission to extract the funds that you require from our trust fund. Thank you very much. They know exactly what you're talking about. They just don't expect you to know what you're talking about. When you do that and persist with that, you are you are correct. And they must extract from your trust fund those funds which they require. And most of the time they will. And you will get a letter sort of saying the matter's closed, which
Right.
means they've extracted that money from your trust fund because you gave them permission to do so, but you didn't
Yeah.
lose. But
I
only
think.
from a trust fund you can't touch.
Thank you for sharing that, brother. I mean, I think greater the numbers that come and exercise this.
Correct.
I feel. Do you know what I'm trying to say? If it's just
That's
one or
the
two
way.
people, yeah, more and more people doing this, having a good stance in presenting this, I feel that that's going to bring an end to that chapter. That's for sure.
The
You know.
three steps of rebellion, Barrett, are simple. Expose them, reject them, replace them.
Brother, do you feel? I mean, this is like. Do you feel that this conversation we're having right now, if we were to put the clock back, okay, you might say internet might not have existed then, or that if we go back 50, 100 years, do you feel that the powers that were they still could observe people's movements? Do you feel that the draconians, they're monitoring our conversation right now? Do you think that they're listening to our conversation right now? And if so, what do you feel that they're feeling right now? Do you feel that um I mean, ask a stupid question, but do you think that they have the power to terminate?
Quite. So this is what I know about what's going on. The technology that exists is
Yeah.
interconnected. That's called the internet. Therefore, it can be utilized in either way. Every microphone and camera can be used two ways. That's two-way technology. It's a transceiver. It receives and transmits. Therefore, you can be listened to and watched if you have any device that has a microphone or a camera on at any time, whether it's on or off. It can be automatically activated, called Smurf technology. Edward Snowden, who's now in Russia, gave us, I believe so, gave us that information. And you can go and verify that. It's pretty obvious now to most people. And of course, I'm sure it's happened to everybody. You're sitting in your lounge. You can even test it out and play games really with a silly bit of technology. You sit in your lounge and talk about a product, like start to babble about the cats and how you're looking for cat toys and all that. The next minute you pop your YouTube on and all the cat toys are there, or you Google or your Facebook and all the adverts are there, and you're like, come on, man, you're listening in on us, man. What else are you listening to when we're in bed? You know, I mean, come on, what's going on? So it's very obvious that you're being listened into. You accepted the technology into your home. You brought in a bunch of microphones and cameras. What do you expect? You invited surveillance into your home. What do you expect? I mean, come on. Everybody knows that. If you don't, you're a complete fool. And I mean that with the greatest of respect. And also a little nod then. If you don't know, all your devices, phones, computers, televisions have two-way technology. They're watching you and listening to you. It's not paranoia. Just go and research the technology you're utilizing. Don't be so foolish as to just accept it. Rather research it. You know, you're being surveyed left, right, and center. That's how Facebook knows what you want to buy when you just speak about it 2 minutes ago. You know, it's obvious.
So,
So, yes, go ahead.
sorry, Don. I was going to say, so are we feeding the beast in some ways?
100%. We've been feeding the beast since the beast came on board. www. Internet is the beast. It says 666. www means 666. 666.com. I mean, what do you expect? That is the beast. So simply we were deceived into downloading and interacting with technology which was accumulating every single bit of data ever presented to it by any human across the human race called human consciousness. Therefore, in a few chips, in a few machines, in one room somewhere exists human consciousness on a floppy disk, a digital human consciousness. Who gave that to the draconians? Who accepted technology and downloaded all human data to the masters? Yeah, stupid humans did that. And now the draconians have all the digital information, can make robots and upload the digital information, and the robots are as smart as humans. That makes us humans obsolete. That wasn't so bright, humanity. Like, you need to get it right now because you're on the verge of an ELE, extinction level event. And those people that are saying that they're getting a sense that it's the end, they're pretty right. It's like pretty obvious to everybody, It's not looking so good. But we're creating it. We're creating this not so looking good, dirty, disorganized sewage place. We're creating a low vibrational existence. We accept civilization. We accept anti-nature draconians and their rule. We accept working against ourselves as nature, as fauna.
So the only way one can raise their game and vibration in to really understand the real value, the intrinsic value, which is this vessel. So if we can take serious stock and ownership and responsibility rather than pointing fingers at others and saying they are the bad, the good. But if we say, right, let's bring it into, let's stay centered, and not try to say, creating the field of separation. So taking full ownership and saying at times, I'm sorry because I was traumatized. I was like not conscious enough to be more responsible. And responsibility, the way I'm working with is, being conscious of what trail you're leaving behind and observing how through empathy as well, seeing how people are seeing me as a person. When I'm in someone's presence, am I working at a level where I'm uplifting people, or am I dragging them further into the abyss? Of late, and it's hard not to when you have great guests like yourself, we're raising the game, the vibration.
Absolutely.
So and you are, because you get a feedback, right? A biofeedback, and that's why I love being in your presence, because it's like I can't wait till I see you again.
Oh, thanks.
And
Same, mate.
that's the message, though, isn't it, brother? It's like when you're spending time with people, are we trying to manipulate each other? Are we trying to control each other? Are we trying to abuse each other? Or are we trying to love each other and care for each other? And my understanding is the level of abrasiveness is based on how you're treating yourself. It begins with self first, and then that is the measure of how and what, how you treat everyone else and the environment.
Yep.
So yeah, how important is it then? Reference to the fuel, what we put in our vessel. Do you feel that do you feel that we should be more conscious of what is being produced?
Definitely.
Anything being greater control of you can produce it yourself. Grow your own foods and connect with others and exchange instead of going to the supermarkets and that's what I'm kind of doing right now, where I'm based in Bulgaria. I grow a bulk of my food, and things that I can't, I engage with other fellow beings who are like-minded. They don't use harsh chemicals and in producing what we call food. And what about the water, brother? I mean, do you feel that because there's a lot of contamination as well. I mean, I use distilled water, but then I put things like certain sea salts and Celtic salt and stuff like that. Um, but my day begins with gratitude. Every day, I am excited, and I must say, brother, part and partial of my excitement, and I thank Jesse as well, Jesse Howe from the Missing Links, because you, my brother, and a very few handful of people have really been a massive boost. And so I'm excited in doing a series of I don't want to call it interview, but communication, and and want to spend more time with what you've brought to the world. And also, I believe that you are working on another one, which at some point you'll talk about. And at some point, I'd love to invite you back, and we could talk about certain and like we certain devices that people can create. Because I'm definite into electroculture, because I use copper rods and conduct, and I use a lot of stones everywhere because I find plants grow so well with certain types of stones around. um, and I'm working this year magnetizing water and seeds as well. So I'm really excited, brother, and
The stones. Let me just jump in there on the stones.
yeah.
That's because a lot of stones, I say most, some stones, a lot of stones have piezoelectricity running through them.
Oh,
The
interesting.
highest piezoelectric content is in granite and quartz. So here in
Wow.
Jersey, we have a pink granite, which is really high in piezoelectric discharge. So it's got a very, very high content of electromagnetism within it, and the pink granite houses distort the phone signals radically. In fact, granite in general does. So the pyramids were built with piezoelectric understanding. Those stones have, each one has massive piezoelectric, like a battery content, piezoelectric content. So every one of them, and I believe there's millions, that's a lot of batteries. And then, of course, the way the generator of the energy, the pyramid is set up, it just charges all those batteries and then discharges them off the batteries constantly. So you've constantly got a recharge, discharge relay going on, which is how the pyramids work. It's piezoelectric. So in your stones, depending on what stones they are, and you say the stones, the plants are like the stones, it's because you're giving them energy. It's exactly the same idea as electroculture with the copper wire. You're giving them energy by coiling the copper wire, making an antenna, a cathode. And the bottom is an anode, and you're sticking one in the ground and one in the sky, and that's it. And you know what? The real matter is the higher the cathode, the antenna, the better, the higher the rate of piezoelectric discharge, or not a piezoelectric, electromagnetic discharge in that case. In the copper wire case, it's not piezoelectric, it's electromagnetic. But it's the same, yeah, electrical discharge, electromagnetic discharge. So yeah, so basically what I'm saying is if you were into electro culture, the higher your rod, of course it's going to be stuck in the ground, but the higher the rod, and probably it's not practical. So it would be easier to stick a copper rod in the ground, attach some copper wire, go up a tree, and stick the antenna, the top of that copper wire splayed, up as high as you can in the highest tree, and that will give you the biggest discharge of electricity, and therefore your plants will feed off that the quickest, the most, and grow the
Yeah.
most. That's how it works, basically.
Wow, brother. Thank you for that. Yeah, I'll try that. But it's been great, brother, spending time with you as always. It's wonderful sharing space, and you're bringing so much to the table, brother. And
Oh, brilliant! Shall I
you
leave
know,
you with
you're
the NASA concept that I didn't finish off just in closing?
absolutely sure, absolutely.
People be quite interested.
Please.
So I might have mentioned before. Let me just close a little window that's come up here. I might have mentioned before. If we look at NASA and the way they launch their craft, you always see it going at an angle. Obviously, now there's a reason why it goes at that angle, and that's because it's not going through the firmament to outer space. Otherwise, it would be more fuel efficient just to go straight up if there was outer space, which there isn't. In that sense, it's not vertically; it's more horizontally and outer space. So what they do is they send these crafts up at this angle of trajectory, and then they disappear, of course, into the so-called outer space. And several weeks later, there's something on television: the craft's re-entering, and block, it's gone in the ocean, and it's probably landed in the Bermuda Triangle or wherever it's supposed to land. When you look at these craft, like the first ones, the old shuttle, Star Galactica, or whatever it was, the shuttle, this white sort of dolphin looking thing with fins on it and stuff, it almost looks like one of them little beluga whales. Anyway, when they shoot that up into the sky and it disappears for a few weeks, it's not going into outer space. And now we're speaking again outside the box. I don't need to fact check this, but it's just as valid and very much more real, very real, than your outer space theory that nobody, not yours, the outer space theory that nobody can nobody can prove except NASA, of course. The simple thing that is occurring with these craft that NASA used to shoot up, keeping in mind they have a dorsal fin and pectoral fins like dolphins and whales, which is for balance in water. Okay, in water. Somewhat in air, you see it on aeroplanes, this tail fin and these wings, and they kind of for balance on the air as it projects itself forward. And there's more to that story. But these NASA craft, they shoot up and they enter the liquid base of the firmament. What am I talking about? Back to this picture. This is the firmament, the fishbowl effect over the top. What is this? Well, the bottom of it is liquid. Imagine you're inside, underneath now. The bottom of this I'm referring to is liquid. The surround, this is ice at the base of it. And the above the liquid is ice. And the next layer, like onions, is crystalline. And this is all under an ocean of water. But we just need to focus on the top crystalline, below ice, blue ice, particularly 450 degrees Celsius, around there 470, into liquid, into clouds, into atmosphere, and then we're down to earth. It's this part, the liquid part before the blue ice. That's where NASA sends their crafts. NASA's crafts, let's do it like this, go up into the liquid of the firmament and drop out down into space debris in our ocean. Why? What are they doing? The so-called rocket that goes into outer space is not a rocket, it's a submarine. It's for underwater research. And if you went inside, you would see that. Not for outer space research. The instruments need to be very different for these two types of research. One is a very, very thin air atmosphere, and the other one is a very thick liquid atmosphere. They are two opposite, excuse me, they are two opposite forms of training for two opposite atmospheres because two opposite effects occur. One would be altitude sickness in a higher atmospheric arena, and the other one would be the bends, what's called the bends, in a deep density atmosphere, like underwater, like divers experience. If you look into NASA training, and they'll show you, all their training is done underwater. That is not for a high atmospheric experience where there's very, very thin atmosphere. It's an experience for density, dense atmospheres, particularly training to function underwater. It's underwater training to function underwater. It's common sense. It's not rocket science, excuse the pun. So while NASA disappears into outer space, they're in the liquid part of the atmosphere, the liquid part of this firmament, up here, traveling from here over this trajectory and dropping down here. That's what they've done every single time with their dorsal finned, pectoral finned, controllable sub-aqua craft. Funnily enough, these days they call UFOs, unidentified flying objects. They've changed it now, haven't they? To UAPs, which they first called unidentified aerial phenomena. But then they started calling them unidentified area and aqua phenomena. So then they needed a name for that, so they started to call them unidentified anomalous phenomena, which is what UAP now stands for, which is very interesting because
Wow.
that's actually exactly what NASA's been doing. Their so-called outer space rocket has been acting as an unidentified anomalous phenomena. So
Wow.
that's quite, yeah, that's quite interesting.
Very interesting, brother. Very interesting. And
Yeah,
it's
and
yeah.
sorry, just to finish that, look at
Yes.
Elon Musk's interference now.
Yeah.
Elon Musk has come in, and the game has changed, and
Mm.
so have the rocket design. There are no fins on the rockets anymore. The rockets that Elon Musk is using are not for research of the liquid firmament. They are not for research of the liquid firmament. And of course, while in the liquid firmament, they're researching the ice firmament, yeah, the crystalline ice to try
Yeah.
to get out. Because, of course, you know, in 1953 or 43, I'm not sure of the date at all there. Don't take me on the date. I believe it was Bikini Island. They attempted to discharge 30 nukes to break the firmament. And I think you
Wow.
find Hillary Clinton referring to it in several of her addresses to the public. But to keep with the modern times, Elon Musk has altered the rockets. He's taken off the fins because no longer are NASA or X or Tesla or Elon or whatever researching the liquid firmament. They now are trying to break through it. So the rockets are no longer going in this trajectory to enter the liquid firmament, research it, and drop out, they're now just going straight up to blow it apart. That's what Elon's up to. He's trying to blow the firmament away, but it's impossible. It's not possible. So it's okay. Keep trying, Elon.
Yeah. Wow, brother. I mean, it's amazing your ability to know so much. I mean, it's like, it's like I'm
All
all
out the box, in the sphere.
yeah. Amazing, brother. Amazing. I'm like to thank you so much for your
Oh,
presence
and
as
yours.
always, and look forward to when we end the show. If I could have a few minutes right at the end, really appreciate it.
Of
And
course.
thank you. And
Pleasure, Barrett. Thank you, brother. It's always beautiful to chat. I love it.
peace and
What an
love.
honor. You too, brother. Cheers for that.
Bioactivator would like to thank you for your kind support and donations. Through Barrett Tunian's guardianship of this platform, his activation of truth harmonizes, neutralizes, and unblocks the meridians that connect, balance, and purify all that comes in contact. Do no harm is the key that fully opens the heart's voice to be in the union of the I Am presence, and will represent every living organism on the planet whose voice would otherwise not be heard. Remember, the truth will set you free. Do no harm, cause no loss, and do not impose upon the freedom of others. Love, light, and